The project's approximately 3,000 hectares in size, so 30 square kilometers, which we feel is kind of the sweet spot size for a junior in BC. Keeps exploration costs down to a minimum, but large enough still to encompass everything you need and still attract majors and partners. It's a large shear-hosted quartz carbonate system with gold and tungsten mineralization, as well as some intrusion-related gold surrounding the Bendor Pluton. As for location, it straddles the Bridge River Valley on the south side of Carpenter Lake Reservoir, approximately 170 kilometers north of Vancouver and about 60 kilometers north of Pemberton in southwestern BC. It sits in a highly sought-after region just east of Goldbridge and west of Lillooet, which is where they were two major centers during the early Fraser River gold rush. And I guess also the project sits just about 15 kilometers northeast of the prolific multi-million ounce Braylorn Pioneer gold mine complex, and about 15 kilometers southeast of Endurance Gold's Reliance project, which they've been putting out some pretty phenomenal gold numbers and intervals lately as well. So it's a good area. The Bendor Project was first explored in the 1930s, the early 1930s, so nearly 100 years ago. Then basically around 1936, they drove a short adit into the Benbow vein, which returned about just over 12 grams per ton gold and 17 grams per ton silver. And then it's between 1936 and 1946, with a short mine closure from 41 to 45 for World War II. They mined 3 levels and a short Windsey, totaling approximately 333 meters. That samples reported out of it assayed up to 32 grams per ton gold and 6.5% tungsten trioxide. And a bulk sample, a 23 kilogram bulk sample, was also noted that it was taken from the Windsey. That assayed on average of 48 grams per ton gold, 20.6 grams per ton silver, and 0.16% tungsten. Then in 1947, a 2,700 meter underground exploratory drill program was completed from the level 3 drift to test the down dip extension and lateral extension of the Bristol shear zone. And they reported low-grade gold throughout the shear, which, as everyone knows, what they considered low-grade gold at that time is now, it's not low-grade now. But one of the better results that they did actually report the numbers for was 27.5 grams per ton gold over 5.3 meters, which included 70 grams per ton gold over about 3/4 of a meter. And then the project actually sat idle until the 80s and early 90s. So late 80s and early 90s. Then a few small ground programs and short drill holes were completed that focused around Tommy Creek, kind of near the Bristol mine area. And then from there, 1994 onward, the project basically just sat abandoned and forgotten until we recently acquired it. The geology of the Bendor Project, I would say that the fact that there have been what's interesting about it is that the fact that there's been significant tungsten numbers coming out of the Bristol mine workings in the past, and hints of antimony on the west side of the creek as well. That's something that I would consider interesting or unique, especially considering both metals, tungsten and antimony, are considered, they're now classified as critical metals in Canada. There's quite a bit of silver as well, but it's not, the United States just classified it silver as critical as well. So Canada, it's not in Canada yet, but we're likely to follow suit. However, in terms of gold mineralization, we're in a similar shear-hosted environment to our surrounding neighbors, I guess. So I would say we're not unique at all in the area, but in this case, I would say it's a very good thing, because I just mentioned, the neighboring mines of Braylorn, Pioneer, and exploration projects like Reliance are hosted in similar settings, and they contain either significant known gold deposits that are being actively mined or are in the process of discovery and continually hitting great gold numbers as well. So I'd say it's not always bad to be like the other guy. I would say Bendor aligns quite well with our overall strategy. For instance, it's in a great jurisdiction with other successful projects surrounding it. It has good access, sits near major mining centers, which you can source equipment, contractors, personnel, which are all a bonus. Initially, it sat on the back burner mainly because we focused on our copper dominant projects. But after the recent detailed review and compilation efforts, I'd say it's starting to move up in our portfolio. I also like the fact that despite the high grade gold and tungsten encountered throughout the project, it basically sat forgotten for most of its life. Even now, if you go on the min file data, there's barely any mention of the historical workings or underground drilling besides a short blurb in one of the min files. You need to actually go through all the old historic property files from the 40s to get any details out of it. Like the first actual work listed for the min files is in the 80s. So it's a similar story actually to our Copper Plateau project. We try to find overlooked projects that have been sitting dormant for a long time and haven't seen much modern exploration, but have lots of potential, so we can really move them forward quickly and efficiently and economically. And I mean, as our name suggests, we're a copper company first and foremost, but that doesn't mean that we don't recognize the potential of a project like Bendor when it comes along. Some juniors would love to have a single project like Bendor in their portfolio, especially with how gold has been performing lately. It could be a flagship project all on its own. And now, including Bendor, I believe that we hold at least 3 projects that could be considered standalone company builders in their own right. And really, I'm looking really forward to what the future will bring for Cascade and its shareholders now. Looking ahead, I'd say the next steps for Bendor and milestones that investors can expect as our exploration continues is, well, now that we've recently completed the first phase of the detailed 2D compilation and digitization of the historic data, and we're just starting to wrap our heads around all of it now, and we're really excited about the potential. And from what we can tell so far, the high-grade gold mineralization, especially near Bristol and Benbow workings, appear quite structurally controlled. So we're confident that the next phase of work over the winter will be quite informative. And our phase 2 plans include putting everything into 3D. So 3D modeling of the historic drilling and mineralization, inversion of the airborne magnetics that we flew airborne magnetics and radiometrics and LiDAR. And then we're going to do geologic modeling in 3D as well, obviously. So that in conjunction with with the LiDAR, we should be able to tie structures together and help define the initial drill targeting. So in terms of future milestones for Bendor, the most likely path forward would be, I'd say, over the winter. In summary, it'd be the 3D inversion of the airborne magnetics, compilation of everything into a cohesive 3D environment, structural interpretations using the LiDAR magnetics and historic observations, especially from the underground workings and drilling. And then using that to build drill targets, and then submitting a drill permit to the BC government. And then following that, right away in the spring, I plan on getting out there and ground truthing and sampling a lot of the anomalies, especially the gold and soil anomalies that were never really followed up at all, that we're getting good sizable 200 ppb gold anomalies, and then some of them that they went above detection limits, and they're like 1 gram, even over 5 grams per 5 grams per ton gold in soils. So yeah, that maybe expanding on the soils, locating the old workings, probably surveying the old drill collars, and then there's a fairly modern logging road that goes right from the bottom at Carpenter Lake all the way right to Bristol Mine, that can easily be rehabbed and reopened. It's still, the base of it and everything's perfect. It just has some alders starting to grow on it. And then if all goes well with that, then hopefully then diamond drilling the initial high conviction targets that are generated from the 3D exercise and drill targeting.